Shalom from Israel to all of the Daystar viewers around the world. I'm Moshe Bar Tzvi, the producer and founder of Israel Now News. We at Israel Now News are dedicated to bringing you the full story and the truth about Israel from Israel. It's written in the Holy Bible when David said in Psalm 25:5, "Lead me in your truth and teach me, for you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all the day long." And God says in Zechariah 8:16, "These are the things that you shall do. Speak out the truth to one another. Judge with truth and judgment to peace in your gates. And always search for the truth, and the truth shall set you free." John 8:31. I hope you enjoyed the program. God bless you from Jerusalem. Shalom, shalom.
Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, the world powers have surrendered to the will of Iran. This according to Iranian President Hassan Rouhani after signing a nuclear agreement with the P5+1 nations, Russia, China, Britain, France, the United States, and Germany. The 6-month nuclear treaty will provide Iran with much-needed sanctions relief for agreeing to make little changes to their rogue nuclear program. After receiving a hefty $4.2 billion in previously frozen funds, the hardline Islamic Republic claims to have halted its most sensitive nuclear enrichment and to have begun diluting uranium enriched to the fissile concentration of 20%. Israel continues to warn the world powers that the restrictions against Iran are not stringent enough and that Tehran could be using the sanctions relief to buy time to revive its struggling economy. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly reiterated his stance that the deal offers Iran far too many benefits for far too few concessions.
The United Nations has officially launched its Year of Solidarity with the Palestinians. The international body celebrated the commencement of the program, which is said to promote solidarity with the Palestinian people throughout the year. Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Ron Prosor, called the event a mechanism that serves Palestinian propaganda and said that instead of putting an end to the provocative Palestinian campaign against Israel, the United Nations has provided a stage for such performances. Prosor went on to say that while Palestinians seek the UN solidarity, they continue to educate each young generation to not only hate Israel, but to deny the connection between the Jewish people to their homeland. Saying that the time to stop this hypocrisy has come, Israel's UN ambassador then asked why there is no solidarity with the Israeli victims of terrorism and their families.
One of Israel's staunchest allies and friends, Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper, was in Israel last week. Harper is an evangelical Christian, and since his election in 2006, Canada has openly sided with Israel in every one of its military operations. Harper met extensively with his personal friend, Benjamin Netanyahu, and addressed the Israeli cabinet. From a podium in the Knesset, Harper said that Canada will stand with Israel through fire and water. He stressed that after generations of persecution, the Jewish people deserve to live safely and peacefully in their homeland, and that Canada supports Israel because it is right to do so. He was given a standing ovation by members of the Knesset.
Southern Israel has remained under a steady barrage of rocket fire from the Gaza Strip. Since the beginning of this month, more than 21 missiles have been fired into the Jewish state. Schools in the south were closed for 3 consecutive days last week out of concern over further attacks, forcing more than 4,000 elementary school children and kindergartners to remain home, as well as many of their parents. The IDF targeted a member of the Islamic Jihad terror organization who directly took part in the rocket attacks. A spokesperson from the IDF released a statement describing Ahmed Saad as a key Palestinian operative in the Gaza Strip who specialized in the concealment and launching of rockets, as well as other terrorist activities over the years, including shooting incidents. In explaining pinpoint IDF strikes on 2 other sites in Gaza, the military statement said that the sites were part of a terrorist support network that enhanced terror capabilities against Israel and its civilians, and that as long as the Hamas terrorist rulers enabled their henchmen to attack Israel, No such locations are immune from the watchful eye and operational capabilities of Israel's army.
UNESCO has canceled an exhibit on Jewish ties to the land of Israel. The display, called People, Book, Land, the 3,500-year relationship of the Jewish people to the Holy Land, was in the process of being set up in UNESCO's Paris headquarters when the organization's Director General, Irina Bokova, announced that it had been shut down. UNESCO received letters of complaint from 22 Arab countries opposed to the exhibit. Bokova said that UNESCO decided to cancel the exhibit for fear that it could disrupt the current peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians. Rabbi Marvin Heyer, the dean of the Wiesenthal Center, wrote a letter protesting the decision. He said the Arab group's demand is not over any particular content in the exhibition, but rather the very idea of it, that the Jewish people trace their historical and cultural roots in that land for 3.5 millennia. He went on to say that if anything will derail hopes for peace and reconciliation among the people of the Middle East, it will be by surrendering to the forces of extremism and torpedoing the opening of this exhibition, jointly vetted and co-organized by UNESCO and the Simon Wiesenthal Center. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations said UNESCO's decision is wrong and should be reversed. She added that UNESCO is supposed to be fostering discussion and interaction between civil society and member states, and that organizations such as the Wiesenthal Center have a right to be heard and to contribute to UNESCO's mission.
Britain's Sunday Times newspaper has published a report stating that the Vatican intends to review the conduct of the Catholic Church during the Holocaust. Pope Francis has reportedly agreed to open Vatican archives from World War II in order to examine the conduct of late Pope Pius XII, who is now under consideration for sainthood. Jewish groups have long accused the Vatican, Pius in particular, of complacency during the Holocaust by remaining silent and allowing Jews to be slaughtered by the Nazis, and those groups are now demanding an historical reckoning for the Vatican's role in the Holocaust. Pope Francis has been advocating that Vatican records become public for some time. In his book On Heaven and Earth, he wrote that it seems reasonable to open the archives so that everything can be cleared up, to let it be seen if they could have done something to help, and until what point they could have helped. Francis went on to write that if the Church made a mistake in any aspect of this, we would have to say that we erred and shouldn't be scared of doing so because truth has to be the goal.
Those who dreamed about the Jewish state, those who wrought the historical miracle and against all odds established a state, those who arrived in the homeland to their new home, those who propelled Israel forward step after step.
I have no doubt that this expanded partnership with our many Christian supporters will greatly strengthen Israel in the years ahead. And I want to thank you all for being part of that historic effort and that historic partnership. May God bless all of Israel's friends throughout the world. May God bless you.
And that concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein, and we're here in yet another beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop studio. My guest today is Rabbi Yeshua Fass, CEO and founder of Nefesh B'Nefesh. Rabbi Fass, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure, Josh.
Rabbi Fass, tell our viewers a little bit about what is Nefesh B'Nefesh.
Nefesh B'Nefesh, which means actually soul to soul, was an organization that we founded in 2002, and it's there to help individuals from North America move to Israel permanently. It's called Aliyah, which means in Hebrew to ascend. So when a Jew moves to Israel, it means that they ascend to Israel. So we help facilitate their Aliyah.
How many people have actually made Aliyah through the Nefesh B'Nefesh program?
Close to 38,000 individuals since 2002.
Wow, and these are people who come from English-speaking countries mostly.
We help US, Canada, and Brits move to Israel.
Why do you think these people are coming in such large numbers to Israel?
Well, there's a reason. Many of them are driven by ideological reasons, Zionist reasons. Individuals want to be part of history. Individuals don't want to be on the sidelines of what's happening in this historic times, and people want to invest their talents and contribute to this incredible country, which we call our homeland.
We see that in America alone, there are close to over 5 million Jews still there. Why haven't more Jews come to Israel?
I think there are obstacles, and we're constantly trying to find ways to obviate those obstacles. There's financial obstacles, there's the language barriers, there's the bureaucracy that happens here. It's just really moving a family is picking up and to a completely different country, even though it might be your homeland, even though you might be been praying about this for your entire life. Still, it's very difficult finding a job, integrating your family, finding a school for your children. And so there are a lot of barriers, and individuals tend to do things that they feel comfortable at, even if they're idealistic. So we try to find ways to obviate those obstacles to help facilitate that for the individuals.
Has it been successful? You mentioned, the language barrier, the culture barrier. Are English-speaking immigrants to Israel finding their way in society here? Are they getting a
Absolutely. I'll tell you two statistics that I think prove that the trend is actually successful. For years, I would say from 1970 to 2000, only 1,000 individuals moved from North America to Israel a year. And sadly, after a year and a half, almost 60% of them would go back, would return to America. It was too difficult. Now we're quadrupling those numbers every year. Almost 4,000 people are moving to Israel every year. And what's remarkable is 97% of them are staying in Israel. So 97% are not just surviving, but are thriving here in Israel, finding jobs, integrating. Their kids are, thriving in school, and they're becoming integrated in their society and communities.
A lot of people feel that moving to Israel is the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. We feel that people are coming to Israel because God has made a calling on their heart to do so. Do the people who come look at it from a biblical point of view?
I think many do. Many do. I think for sure those who are coming from religious homes and religious backgrounds believe that this is a mitzvah, it's a commandment, or that this is basically an outcome of biblical prophecies. And I think others feel, who are not coming from religious backgrounds, feel that there is a connection, there's a pull of the heartstrings to our homeland, and they feel that spark within themselves to connect.
I get questions all the time about the religious Orthodox community in America. They're Orthodox, they believe in the Bible, they pray 3 times a day. Why don't they see it as a biblical mandate that they must come to Israel? Well,
it's a very, very difficult question. And I find it, I haven't yet found the answer. I've been working on this program for 12 years, and I find it, I'm a bit incredulous to see that religious communities are not coming in major numbers to Israel.
Christians all around the world are praying for Israel, and one of the things they pray specifically for is that they will continue with the ingathering. People will move to Israel. Do you think this is a positive thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think anyone who prays for the behalf of the Jewish people, anyone who prays on behalf of the state of Israel, not only will be blessed, but is blessing our future, our destiny as a Jewish people. And I think we're living in miraculous times because the 3 corners of the world have already been ingathered to Israel. The 4th reservoir of possible immigration to Israel is the North American Anglo community. And I feel extremely privileged that every day I get to go to work and I'm helping that 4th corner move to Israel.
One of the things that's interesting is we've seen Christians' involvement in incredible ways in Russian Aliyah, in Ethiopian Aliyah, and now even with the B'nai Menashe. Do you think that there's a role for Christians to play in helping with Anglo Aliyah?
I think there are Christians that have approached us, that have approached other agencies to try to help facilitate the Aliyah of individuals, and it's an incredible gesture to help this ingathering.
Rabbi Fass, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
The message, I think, is just to be cognizant of the fact that we're living in miraculous times. That in 2014, we are seeing individuals choosing to move to Israel, not individuals fleeing from persecution or duress or distress, but there is aliyah of choice, that people are coming on their own will and moving to Israel to fulfill a destiny, a personal destiny, and also a national and communal destiny.
Thank you, Rabbi Fass, for being on the show.
My absolute pleasure, Josh.
And thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
This is Jerusalem, Israel's capital city. It's an ancient and modern treasure that is beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Up next, Shining Light from Israel.
Get out of your country to a land that I will show you. I will make you a great nation, and in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Lift your eyes now and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land which you see, I give to you and your descendants forever.
The miracle of our age is that after 2,000 years ago, against all odds, with all the pogroms and with the heinous Holocaust, the Jews came back and reunited with a very small remnant of Jewish people that was here throughout this 2,000 years of exile. And I think the miracle is that it is all authorized and it is all written in the Bible.
If you read through the first book of the Bible, the book of Genesis, which predates the scriptures of any other contemporary faith, you will find in the narrative of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob the biblical statement that God promised this land to these fathers for their seed forever and ever.
Here we are standing in the city of David, outside the walls of the old city. But in fact, this little hill outside the walls of the old city is Jerusalem from the Bible. When we want to understand where's the proof of the Jewish people in this land, going back 2,000 years, 630 years before Islam was even invented, here I hold a coin in my hand which I carry with me every day. This coin says on it, it was minted by Rome 27 times, it says Judea capta. Jews, or Judah, is captured. 2,000 years ago, my people, the Jewish people, we had already been living in this land for 1,100 years. This had been our home for over a millennia. Today, when we come back to this land, we're simply picking up this exact same journey and beginning from where we left off. We're back in Zion, the Jewish people are back home.
Jerusalem was taken in the second year of Vespasian's reign. Titus had taken the city 1,179 years after King David. He ordered the entire city and the temple smashed to the ground, leaving only the tallest of the towers standing and part of the western wall to show posterity the strong defenses which had yielded to the Romans. Flavius Josephus.
when you fight a clash of civilization, when you fight a religious war, the effort to distort the past, to distort history, to distort the truth, to distort religion are as important as long-range missiles in the current war. Therefore, the temple, according to the Palestinians, never stood on Temple Mount. The Israel kingdom never was here. King David wasn't here. Everything started with the Muslim and will end with the Muslim. All the rest is not history, not existent.
This right that the Jews have to the land of Israel is founded not only in historical rights of the Jewish people to the land of Israel, that we are the only people who ever had a sovereign state here, ever, but also in international law. And when you see a Jewish people who, after 2,000 years of dispersion, has reunited and it's working and it's worked and it's glorious. I'm excited about the opportunities to live in this land when we've done it.
The founder of Israel said that in our time, if somebody does not believe in miracles, he is not realistic. Reality is miracle here. We cannot judge this situation always in logic, because something very special is happening here.
Anywhere else, this would be a vacation by a lake. But this is the Sea of Galilee. The wonders of Israel are beyond belief. There's a little bit of Israel in all of us. Come find the Israel in you.
Please stay tuned for the ICJ Report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
Welcome to the ICJ Report. My name is Juha Ketala and I'm the International Director of our ministry. The Lord has called us both to Israel and to the nations. That's why we have our headquarters here in Jerusalem. You can see our building here behind me. And in the nations, we have our national branches. Now, we as a ministry, we are like a funnel, like a pipe with a wide opening to channel the support and help from the nations into the lives of the individual citizens in Israel. We have had our physical presence here in Jerusalem since 1980. In our headquarters here in Jerusalem, we have a staff of about 40 people from more than 12 different nations. And from here, we are spreading out to all Israel. And the Lord has enabled us to touch the different layers of the Israeli society. We have been doing it and we are doing it either by our ICEJ aid social assistance programs and projects that are going to the north and south and east and west of Israel, or we are doing the touching of the layers of the Israeli society by our partnerships with many different various institutes here in Israel. Among them, for example, the Knesset Christian Allies Caucus, enabling us to touch the national leadership of Israeli nation, the modern day Israel. Or we have a partnership with the Yad Vashem, the most prestigious, very well-known institute in Israel, the Holocaust Museum and the Educational Center. Now, this is what we are doing in Israel. Now, in the nations then, and this is vitally important, very, very important. In the nations, We are serving the body of Christ. Our message nourishes. It builds trust in the spirit of the believers. When we show from the Bible and from the history how God has been so faithful to the Israelites and the modern day Israelis. The Israelis are back in the modern day state of Israel here in the land. God is forever faithful. So we are serving the local body of Christ with our message. But we are doing more than that. We are raising a global prayer on behalf of Israel in the nations. And we are also raising some other kind of support in the nations. And we do this by reaching out to the national leaders and the decision makers in the countries. We are speaking on behalf of Israel and raising understanding of the Israelis and what kind of situations they have in the land. You need to be part of this. Within the last year alone, we were in more than 30 nations, almost 30 nations, from Israel, from Jerusalem. And this is in addition to what the national branches have been doing in more than 70 nations. We have been establishing new branches within the last year. In November last year, we had a new branch we established in Sierra Leone. Then in February in Senegal and in Niger. And then in May in Slovenia. So we have new branches. We have a vision to reach out to the Muslim countries. The Lord prophesied over us that we will establish 10 new branches in the Muslim countries. China is opening for us. Spanish-speaking world is opening for us. In Africa alone, we have more than 20 nations to go into. You need to get involved. Do something practical. Click the donation button on our website and learn where you can put your monies in to support the ministry. Actions prevail over mere knowledge. Write a check. Pray for us. Remember, we are your embassy here in Jerusalem.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan Elrom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.